right, welcome everyone to another episode of Gaming Gaiden, the series that explores the side stories of the video gaming universe. I'm your host, Mike, along with my co-host,
Andrew, everybody, and we have another special guest. And Mike, you want to read off the credentials real quick?
Our guest this week is an author. This is Anna Kashina. Anna, thank you very much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. She's got a wonderful list of credentials. She's a long-standing author, going back with the first book in 2002, The Princess of Dagobah, the Majak Code trilogy, and I've had a chance to take a look a little bit at the Blades of the Old Empire, the first book in that series. It's quite nice. And this is, I had to look at this book because I couldn't get a hold of quite yet. It's coming out soon, not available at the time of release, but one of the main reasons we have Anna Kashina here with us today is that she is the author of Lacrimosa of Dana, the novelization of VIII from Falcom, or Nihon Falcom Company is their full name, but we usually just call them Falcom. And we would love today to have this opportunity to discuss the novelization, the art, the craft of changing a video game into a novel. But before that, we do have some other questions, and we're really looking forward to talking with you, Anna. So again, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you. It's exciting.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about your linguistic background, the languages that you speak, your experiences in cultures and languages, moving between them and all?
Yeah, you probably hear the accent right away, right? So, I was born in Russia and I actually moved to the United States as an adult. And my first book was written in Russian. But and then I took a huge dictionary and translated it into English. And in the process, I switched languages. So now I write and think in English, actually. And I've been here longer than I have been in Russia, but the accent is still here and probably will always stay. And I think
That's
I would
perfectly fine.
discuss the pronunciations. So when I write names, I usually think of them completely differently from what the readers would think of them. So,
you think in English pretty much all the time.
yeah, right.
Wow, you made the switch, huh?
But with a Russian accent, so yeah.
In your brain, it's the accent as well.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about
That's
English is that it sounds quite good with just about any accent.
That is
it
true.
Works well.
Yeah,
I think it works
in
better
writing
than
you
some.
can't quite see it, so yeah.
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 So you were your own first translator.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually
Wow.
very interesting how these languages translate into each other. So it's not, you can't just write it down word to word. So actually an author being a translator is perfect because you get to change things as needed. So yeah.
Would you
So
say
what about
Russian's crazy different from English? Like very different? Because we study Japanese a lot, and it's like about as different as you can get from English.
Right.
Yeah. I would assume it's somewhere in between English and Japanese, like as far as difference.
So geographically, definitely. So yeah, this country is kind of on the,
And linguistically as well.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I've learned a little bit of Chinese, so I can speak Chinese just a little bit. Yeah. And yeah, it is very different. So compared to Chinese, at least Russian is much more similar to English. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious about this because I was going to ask about this anyhow, and we've already had a chance to address it. But your subsequent books that you've written in English, did you also translate those then back into Russian for the Russian market?
No, actually, I never did. So it's kind of, in Russian, I think it lends itself better to descriptions, and English lends itself better to action. So
wow, interesting.
It's kind of, I started writing those action-packed novels, and I didn't feel motivated enough to translate them back to Russian. Actually, Russian market for fiction is kind of a little bit finicky these days, I would say. So, yeah. And then also once you switch. So English is your first language. So it's kind of, yeah.
All right.
I don't even know if I can write a novel in Russian now. But,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
yeah. And it also, I guess it follows a lot of what I read. So if I start reading a lot of Russian, I would kind of start switching again, I guess. But I read mostly in English these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's really interesting. I haven't really heard much about how the shift goes between these two languages.
Yeah. It was an experience just to realize you can't just take a sentence and translate it. You have to say the same thing in a different way.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's probably true of many other languages too.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the localization of thought.
Right.
Yeah. This is always an issue with after you get past like upper beginner or you get to like lower intermediate Japanese. I see the like people because I don't teach, but I organize a meetup for Japanese and English learners.
Oh wow!
And so Japanese people come to learn English, and English people come to learn Japanese, Americans, and I can just see it in their eyes when they start to see that past a certain point, you can't say that expression exactly.
Yeah, right.
You just get to that level where it's like you're going to have to leave English behind.
Yeah, it's kind of you have to step into another world in a way. But so when I learned Chinese, actually, I did take a lot of time to learn Chinese, but I didn't get to the point of even reading books. So I can speak, but I cannot read. So I don't know. I'm curious. Can you read books in Japanese?
Yes, I've been studying for 20 years now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been studying for a while, and I'm working my way through the Magic Tree House.
Oh, all right.
So,
yeah.
It's pretty simple stuff for the most part. But that's because I primarily am interested in video games anyway. So my Japanese reading is going to be in video games.
Yeah, I feel very tempted to learn some Japanese actually, but
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it will take a while to get to any reasonable level. So
yeah, it does take a while.
Right.
So according to a library profile, you currently work in biomedical research as well.
Oh boy, yes.
How do you balance that with your writing?
Oh God. Well, so first, so these are both very creative occupations and they use different parts of the brain. I think to me, it's kind of, it's a balance that works for me. So sometimes in my life, I've been doing more of one than the other. And I think when I don't have this balance, I kind of feel like something is missing. So I think I'm the most creative and the most productive when I can do both of those things. But that's kind of how you balance it in your mind. How do you balance the time is a whole different question.
Is one kind of like your main job? Is the biomedical stuff might be your main one, right?
Yes. So my main job, of course, comes first. So I kind of write whenever I have a scrap of time. So I carry my computer with me all the time, and I literally. But I think so. The reason it works is because when I work on a novel, I just get very absorbed in it. So I can just take out my computer and start writing without any preparation. So I can really use any moment of spare time to do something productive.
You just change gears like that. That's fantastic.
It's always in my head, and I think good novel. So if you work on a novel that is going to be good, you have to kind of be a little bit in love. So I think in my interviews about this novel right now, I use the word in love a lot because that's how it feels in a way. So you just spend this time with us. Yeah.
So I'm curious about this. So your first book was published in 2000, right? So you do have a long body of work here, and it's been well received. So how did this novelization come to be? How did it get started? What happened?
It started with falling in love, of course. But So I always liked video games. So actually, I played them since the beginning of the video games. So King's Quest, which came out like in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. I was a big Sierra gamer.
Right,
I loved that
Sierra
stuff.
is just, So I just love the stories. And this game, so modern games, I have to say, so after Sierra games, there are very few games that have a story that would absorb you. So I try to play them whenever I can. And then, so during the pandemics, I just felt like I really want to play a game like this. And I knew nothing about Falcom games at that time, I'm ashamed to say. But then I started Googling and everybody was recommending this game. And then we had the Nintendo Switch we bought for the kids, so I decided to try. And I just, it did feel like falling in love. So not only it was, when I started playing, every line, I felt like, my God, I could have written this. It's just, it feels so close. So I think I very naturally, so this kind of, it clicked. So I think it was kind of, I feel in a way my project to do, because, and then when I finished the game, so I played it like through 2 or 3 times because I couldn't stop, but then at some point you can't play it anymore. And then I started looking for any books related to this game. And I was kind of actually surprised to find none. And then I started looking into it. I called my agent. I said, I really want to write this book because there is nobody else doing it.
Wow.
Yeah. So eventually, so I actually I actively looked for this project, and I felt like
that's cool.
Kind of,
well, that's great. I'm so glad that it was able to work out for you and for everyone, for all of us. We get to enjoy this story in a different way too, and I'm really looking forward to doing both. You know, go play through the game, play and read through the book, and
I gotta tell you, I got this game when it came out. And I liked it, okay, but I didn't get that far, not because of the story. It's the fucking map. The map system in the game. I'm sorry, maybe you can't say anything bad about Ease. but it's just, and I think it's kind of a known issue with this game. The map system was, it was not good. I just got lost every second of the game, so I kind of had to put it down. But I've heard the story is incredible.
Yeah, the map is different. So yeah, I had trouble with it at the beginning, but then I kind of got used to it. I guess I was motivated enough.
But generally what happens with most games, you know.
Yeah, and now so by now I know this world so much. I don't need the map. I know everything. I know what is behind this bush because.
So you've always been kind of an RPG gamer.
So to an extent, so what I cannot deal with is difficult. Like, not even combat. Combat is okay, but difficult, like, I don't know, parkour, just moving through the... So
controls.
Controls. So when I played older games from the East series after I played this one. And the older games, so if you don't jump just exactly right, you fall, and then you have to climb all the way. And I can't deal with that. I just get vertigo from those. But I did play through them, but my kids had to help me all the way. So
I mean, those old games are pretty demanding.
Right. So I play games like in a super easy setting, the easiest possible. And I just barely am able to get through the action. But to me, it's all about the story. So, and the story is worth it. So yeah, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look, you know, you could look on the lists, because the East series has been around for a very long time. You know, how do people rate these games? And generally in the top 3 at the very least is East Lacrimosa of Dana.
Yeah,
it's always there. People are saying, and they judge the other games by it. They'll say like, oh, you know, 9 is not quite as good as 8, or now there's people talking about there's a new one, 10 coming along. I can't remember. It's like Noctis. I can't remember what it was called.
I know what you're talking about.
There's already, you know, talk like, I'm not sure if it's quite as good as 8, but it's like, it's...
Well, that one is not out in the West yet. So it's only available in Japanese. And you guys can probably play it, right?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of YouTubers had it already, and you know. Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, and the font is pretty nice in Japanese. It's pretty.
That's a good font.
Yeah. I feel nice to learn Japanese just for that. Before I do, of course, there will be.
Honestly, that was one of the things, because we grew up like reading video game magazines, and they would talk about Japan in the 90s, and just like, I don't know, video games is a big factor for us to kind of want to learn Japanese.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the best stories you've ever seen in a game.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I need to put it back in my Switch.
Yeah.
You're really selling it.
Right.
I'm in the middle of the first one.
You find your balance with the map, then you're okay. Because I had trouble with it, but then finally when I got used to it, it feels very natural. It's just yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just not... I'm not great at directions in video games, especially.
Yeah.
Even when the map is great, I sometimes have an issue, but I guess I should just power through.
Did you play older East games?
No, I haven't actually. I was just that Ease Lacrimosa of Donna had very good reviews. I was and I action RPG. I like turn based too, but action RPG for me is a little bit more relaxing in some sense because when it's turn based for me, maybe I'm the opposite of some people. I feel like I'm really thinking about my moves so much that my brain is on fire. But if I just swing a sword in an action RPG, it's actually a little bit more relaxing than having to think about the moves all the time. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I got it. And I did like it a little bit, but I just the map was driving me crazy, to be honest with you.
Right. But in older is games, the stories are also very good, but it's like, so in some place you're just running through a dark dungeon and you can only see yourself and a little bit around you, and there's no map in the game, so you can just click a button to see the map. So that was hard. So compared to that, all the modern games are fine. So
that's true. You had to kind of draw your own map with some of the older games, right?
Yeah.
Get some graph paper.
The graph paper. So could you take us through your process in adapting a video game into a novel?
Yeah. So
and this is the big thing here. So how do you do this? You play through this game multiple times. You've got the story internalized. How do you make it? How do you make it a book?
So the first thing to do was, so I played the whole game and I typed down not only all the dialogue and all events and all descriptions, but everything that came to mind. So when I come to like a new area, I would type my impressions of the views. And I mean, the graphics in this game was beautiful. So you can look around and there's this island and scenery. So that one, so it was a very extensive playthrough. So I talked to every secondary character. I checked out every item and I just wrote it all down. So I typed it up. So that was about 900 pages of text and several months of work, actually. It didn't quite feel like work because it was fun, but it was tedious.
Yeah. This is a total passion project.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
And I mean,
that's awesome.
It's funny because when I first played this game, I played it through 2 or 3 times. And then when I thought about it, I would like to write a novel and I won't be able to do it probably. Then I felt like if I'd never get to do it, I would just feel like I haven't accomplished something important in my life. But then I kind of forced myself to distance myself from this because it just felt like a pity. So when I learned that I get to do it, that I'm actually going to do it, it was, like everything was just flying. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think the whole novel took me actually like less than a year to write. And most of it was this playthrough. So when you play through, so you end up with this 900 pages of text, it really has everything. So after this point, you don't really need the game anymore. So you can go to this text. And then it was kind of a matter of, so first, like choosing how does the story work. So, I mean, some of the scenes are side scenes. And then some of the events, I tried actually to follow the events as closely as possible. So I think my book follows the game almost exactly. I did one small switch at the end. And I'm curious if anyone would notice. I think probably won't. Yeah.
Did Falcom go ahead, Mike? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You say it follows that. I mean, are you saying did you have to trim things away, like side quests and side stories to just focus on the main?
Yeah, unfortunately. So so there's a lot of side quests, like backstories of side characters. And I left, so I had to leave only things that are essential to the main story. So when you read the book, you don't really have time to like go back to the village and relax and find those chests and do some fishing. I wish you could. And I think some of the early reviewers, some of the early reviewers actually commented like, why can't we just stop and relax a little bit? But yeah, when you read the book, if the story is not moving forward, it's kind of it won't work for a book. It will work for a game, but not for a book. So it was a challenge. Not only I had to trim away some side quests, but also trim things like they explore and then they come back to the village. So in the book, they have to keep moving. Otherwise, it just it becomes repetitive. So, and then they're exploring the island, but they're really killing all the monsters. So in the book, you have to create the sense of danger. Like what are the stakes? And without all this tension and the pressure, and it just doesn't work as a book. So it was an interesting challenge, actually. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, because I was looking at the listing, and the listing says 591 pages. I was
Well,
thinking,
it's not. It's 466 pages.
oh, the listing
Yeah.
is a
I think
little
listing is
longer.
probably based on ebooks, so all the e-readers have different page count,
Mm,
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
page
okay.
size, yeah, font
Yeah.
size too, I guess.
And I mean, so yeah, I don't know how they count pages in e-readers actually, because you can make
Okay.
different size font, but the printed book is 466 pages, which
Which is
still
still quite a bit.
a lot. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long-ish game though, right? So I guess
Yeah.
it sort of makes sense.
And I tried my best to make it as short as possible, but I didn't want to compromise on anything important. So yeah.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
cool.
So you didn't receive any materials from Nihon Falcom?
Well, they did send us a lot of artwork.
Okay.
That's it?
They didn't
Well-
send you a script or anything?
Well, so the script is in Japanese. So unfortunately,
They
yes.
didn't send you the translated script though? I mean, there's translated
Well,
versions.
translated script belongs to the publisher of the game, so Nisa America. And there are issues with, so if I'm playing a game, I see everything other players see. If I'm using somebody's translation, then it's kind of already, I mean, so it becomes complicated. And to be honest, I didn't even want it because I wanted to approach it as a gamer. So I wanted to kind of start with a point. So if I started with a script, it's kind of like cheating, right? So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
So this would not even exist if you just hadn't contacted your agent.
No.
That's it's so cool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already putting a 10th game out, and this is the first time we're hearing of a localization. That's why I was really so interested by this and surprised. It's true, like these games have been around for years, and they're well respected, but they're not huge sellers. They're not multi-platinum.
Yeah.
They're usually, I think they're in the neighborhood of like 500,000 in sales in a game, which is a really good supportive sort of cult following compared to something like, you know, Zelda or Call of Duty or whatever.
Yeah, and this is really surprising to me actually, because these are such amazing games, especially.
Yeah,
Right.
quality doesn't always sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you know that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I was only able to get this project because of that, and I feel very lucky too. And I'm in kind of an ideal world. Maybe my book will help to spread awareness of this game and it will become more popular, because I think they really deserve it. These are really amazing games. I also love S9, by the way, but I do love S8 even more. So
So if this sells well, they're gonna call you for, or you're gonna call them for S9, or like
possible. Yeah, it's totally possible. Yeah, so S9 has a different, really fascinating story. It's more dark. There's more sadness in it, but it's really, yeah, it's also amazing. So
what is a thing that really works for you as a story with S8?
So to me, like what really kind of sparked my imagination was this backstory in the ancient Eternian civilization. So there's a lost civilization on this island, and we get flashbacks into this lost civilization, and then there's like one person that actually ends up in the present time. So there's all this blend of history and like really amazingly beautiful world and all the characters. So I think when Falcom develops their games, they put a lot of attention into each character. So all the characters just feel like real people. So I think fans of Is keep saying that Adol, who is the main character, is silent. So how do you make him talk? But he's silent, but everybody knows exactly what he is like. So he's a very strong personality while being silent. So it just kind of felt, I don't know, it's just really, I felt like it was just really well aligned with what I normally write. So it wasn't just one thing, it's kind of everything about, and all these emotions. So I think it just kind of was masterfully done in terms of how they convey not only the story, but the emotion. And there's a very unusual take on evolution in this game. And the story has so many layers to it. It's just, I've never felt this way about any other game so far.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, S9 maybe is close second, but yeah.
Their take on evolution, you said.
Yes, right. So part of
we don't want to get into any spoilers here.
Yeah,
if that's gonna.
But we're talking like from ape to man evolution, or
Well,
Another type.
let me say it has dinosaurs in the game.
Okay.
And it's tied into the real history of the world, but it's tied in a very creative way. I've never seen it done this way. And yeah, I don't know how many spoilers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil the story for anyone.
I'll stop
I
it
think
there.
the majority of folks are probably folks who have played the game already, but still, we got to
Yeah.
Yeah.
toe the line there.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, because obviously the structure of a video game is going to be very different, right? And you were saying you need to keep driving things forward. You need to keep the readers moving.
Yes. Right.
One of the major fillers of time in a game is going to be combat, right? And action.
Yes, right.
So how did you approach that? What sort of preparation did you do for that? How do you break that up, right? I don't know how you approach what would normally be like 2 hours of fighting monsters or something into 2 paragraphs, 2 pages, 2 chapters. Like, how do you do this?
So yeah, there are several things about combat. Actually, I love to write about sword fighting. So my other books also have a lot of sword fighting in it. So writing combat, especially in a technical way, is extremely boring. So it's boring to read. No, it's not boring to write, but it's boring to read. So if you write combat, it's all about like people who are fighting. And then at the same time, so you can approach it by showing like a person who is really good at it. And then like everybody can appreciate how good he is. So the main character of this game is Adol, who is a renowned swordsman. Oh, that's a nice cat.
Thank you. This is Peanut.
Hi, Peanut. Oh, yeah. So he's like a master swordsman, and there's a lot of lore about his sword fighting style. So it was very important to the game to show that without getting technical. So one of the things I did, actually, I took sword fighting lessons.
Hey,
you did nice.
Really? Yeah, right.
That's awesome. So like fencing.
So there's a group here which does historical sword fighting. They're called Modern Gladiatorial Arts. I did acknowledge them in my book. And they recreate historical sword fighting, not choreographed fights. They just take a sword and they learn how it worked. So I went to their classes, and they were nice enough to work with me through the swords that I wanted to use in different scenes. So each weapon. So you have to know all that. You don't necessarily have to write all these details. But it's like if you have so that was one aspect of it. So technically it has to be exactly correct. And then in terms of danger, so you can't show all these monster fights that happen in the game. But you can show 1 or 2 and convey how difficult and how dangerous it was. And then if you do that well, then like later on, if you just mention a monster, everybody knows what this is about. So I just chose several monster encounters and made each of them into a story. So again, I don't want to put any spoilers, but I'm very happy about the scenes. So I cannot say they were not in the game. They were, because all these 4 monsters were in the game, and I actually even looked at what kind of damage these monsters do to make sure that but then imagine in a book, one character gets critically injured in this fight. So in the game, you just like take a potion or you go to the like recovery point, you're done. So in a book, so I did my best to make it realistic from that point of view. So what happens if one character gets injured, and what does everybody do? So yeah, there are scenes like this in the book. And actually I also approached the other things. So you're stranded on a deserted island. So then you just kind of start a fire. So how do you start a fire? What are you going to eat? Like on the first day? Where do you find fresh water? So things like this. I didn't really put a lot of word count into these details, but they're kind of there in the background. So I wanted to have a realistic experience, which is kind of, it's not something we think about when we play the game, but this is what we would all think about if we're actually on a deserted island. So So it was really a lot of fun. So you kind of interrogate these details, and then you just show what it actually felt like. And I think in the end, it's all about characters and how they feel about it. So, yeah.
No, that's great, because it's really, it's such a weird thing, you know. For years we've had this debate, you know, about video games, and sort of there's some who feel that story is often just like a basic skeleton that drives the combat and gameplay forward, and others feel the other way about it, that it's the story that drives everything forward. So it's really sort of amazing to me to think, like, how do we change this up entirely to a completely different format where story is obviously the main thing, whereas when you're playing a game, how it feels to control is so important. But speaking of how it feels to control, I'm curious, you said you handled a few different weapons.
Right.
Which one did you find the most natural and enjoyable for you?
For myself personally, maybe a staff, but staff is not in this game. So in my other books, there's a character whose main weapon is a staff. So I did kind of a lot of staff practice. So Adol uses a very heavy sword, and it's kind of, it's not my weapon. So I think sword-wise, I would probably use two smaller ones. And of course, in the game, so I don't know if you played this game, so you'll have like this person running around, barely dressed in anything, and then they would pull out two huge swords, like giant, and then they just take it away, and it's like this kind of slim girl in a bathing suit again. So
it didn't seem all that realistic. So like I've played, well, I mean, obviously, if you play the old Ys games, you just walk into the enemies, you just bump them,
right? Yeah,
rather than like swing the sword or anything.
Yeah, and I didn't mind that actually. So
I was playing Ys Origin. I have that one on my Xbox too, and like there's a lot of fancy sword work. It's like there's no real heft to it. It's just great because it's like really fun, responsive action gaming.
Yeah,
but then when you think about, you know, the realism of it, it's like, well, how do we make this work?
Yeah. When I play games, I just use one button for combats. I put it like on extra easy, and I just kind of hack my way. But there is a lot of technique if you want to do it. I just, I'm challenged in that sense. Real sword, I guess, different. Right.
Was there, like, so Ys 8, I assume is your favorite one now, but before that, you mentioned King's Quest, but did you have a favorite game before Lacrimosa of Dana?
Yeah. Well, so I played a lot of old Sierra games, but they kind of, they disappeared. So around year 2000, there was a game called Might and Magic. So it was a game series.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the first person turn-based. And I really loved that. So I still have books. I printed out all the maps because that game, actually, you have to either remember everything or write it down. So it was kind of a lot of work. And those games don't have a great story, but they do have great gameplay. So I really enjoyed them. Yeah. And then, so recently I played games like Zelda. So actually, Trials of Mana was the game that got me into Ys, because we played Trials of Mana with my kids. And I enjoyed playing it. And the story is kind of light there, but it's a story, and they have a beautiful world. So when I finished it, I actually started Googling games like Trials of Mana. And then eventually people started saying, so if you like Trials of Mana, you should really try Ys 8 because it's even better. And
it's such a funny thing.
JRPG land.
Trials of Mana is a game we talked about with another person we interviewed. That game was not released in English originally. It was a Super Nintendo game. And so then we had years and years where we didn't have that game. And then they made the 3D version and finally did a Super Nintendo version that's only available on the Switch. Right. So if you wanted to try, I don't know, did you guys play the 3D style one, the modern looking one, or the
on the Switch? Yeah. Right.
So there's also a Super Nintendo style one if you'd like to see the classic version.
Yeah.
So,
maybe, So I used to play PC games until we got Nintendo Switch for the kids, and then kind of so then it was my
Switch too.
Yeah, PlayStation apparently has more games, but kids were little, and it was my excuse. I would get these games for them, but then they're too complicated for them. So how about I play them?
Well,
Okay.
I mean, Nihon Falcom was primarily a PC developer,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
they're unique in that. So
Yes.
it's,
Right.
and I remember Sierra. I'm pretty sure it was Sierra who published in America what was a Falcom game, a Sorcerian.
Really?
Now, I'm not sure if I'm mistaken on that. It's been quite a few years, but yeah, I remember getting a hold of that Sorcerian and thinking like, this is such a unique and different game for what is usually a Sierra game, and that's because it actually wasn't. It was just published by Sierra in America.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Wow.
But yeah, Nihon Falcom's always been there on the PC front for some reason, and I'm happy about it.
You talking about PC 98? They were on PC 98 or something?
No, I'm saying I'm just talking like DOS and Windows.
Okay, yeah.
Rather than focusing on consoles, like most Japanese game developers focused on competing consoles.
Yeah, I think
Falcom was always.
I heard that's one of the reasons they didn't become more popular in the West until recently.
Yeah, they didn't really have a lot that got exported to the West, and they weren't on the consoles quite so much. So I think the first time they really made a splash, I think, was with the TurboGrafx CD version of thing. But that, of course, that's like one of the least popular consoles in American history. So you didn't have big numbers to get into it.
Yeah.
But hopefully a book will reach people. That's the real hope here.
Is there going to be an audiobook version too, or do you know anything about that?
So I really hope so. I think right now we're all very focused on this release. And I think kind of everybody is kind of wants to wait and see, because so Falcom took a risk with this project, obviously, because if we did a very bad job, they would it would reflect on them too. So I think everybody just wanted to see how this book looks when it comes out. And I think so far the reception has been very good. So I'm very happy about it. So I really hope.
Early reviews have been positive.
Yeah,
so
and I think my dream is to have like voice actors from the game, maybe to read some chapters. So I have 3 points. So I have 3 points of view in the book. Adol, Dana, and Laxia is a third character who has a point of view, and I think having these actors read their parts would be really nice. But this is fantasy, of course. So yeah,
it
could happen.
It's usually
the book,
I mean, the audiobooks usually follow much later. So if it works out, I don't see why it wouldn't.
And I think, curiously, so right now, even though I do have like fantasy fans who like my other books, so this book is mostly drawing attention from the gamers so far. And I think everybody, so the fantasy readers kind of feel like, oh, it's a tie-in, we haven't played the game. And I think this book actually can be enjoyed by everyone, so you don't have to play the game to enjoy. So I feel like it reads like a regular fantasy novel, but it will probably take time. And then if it happens and it crosses over into these 2 other worlds, then maybe there will be more fans of Ys.
I think this is a fantastic idea. I really do hope it works out, because I would like to see this happen more often. Good, strong novelizations of video game stories. I can still remember back in, I think it was about 99 or 2000, Final Fantasy VIII was still somewhat popular. I had a friend who got a hold of it on the PC, and she was like, I don't understand this game. I just want to understand the story. And we had to like set it up with some cheats and everything for her so she could just kind of move through and really enjoy the story. If there had been a book, that's all. Just put the book in her hands and she would have loved it.
Yeah.
Now people probably just, if that friend of yours could probably just watch the YouTube sections these days, but yeah, book would be better actually.
I'd rather have a book in that case.
Yeah.
If it's a game, I'd prefer to play it. But if there's a book, I'd love to read it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I think
who's your favorite Ys character?
My favorite Ys character? Gosh.
Adol?
Well, Adol was great. I mean, so if you write an Adol's point of view, you feel kind of very balanced. I mean, he's such a wholesome character, and he always kind of, in a way, always does the right thing. So Dana was also an amazing character, because she has so much strength, and she has like I mean, she goes through some very extreme experiences in her life, and I mean, again, no spoilers, but it's just you just can't help but admire her. And I think the game actually starts with Adol saying how much he admires Dana, and then it's just you get to this admiration. But in this game, I also loved some secondary characters. So one of my favorite characters appears very late in the book, and we actually, out of curiosity, we surveyed people who's your favorite secondary character. So no one named this one.
Oh, wow.
I look forward to people like discovering him and read the book, because I also, another thing I pride myself on, when I worked on this novelization, I didn't invent anything. I just tried to understand what the game developers meant when they. So some dialogue is kind of unfinished in a way, because in the game, I mean, you can only put so much dialogue. So they say something out of context. So I kind of followed, like, why did they say this? And it felt like you discover things about these characters and what is the backstory, which are actually, so after you discover them, you can see, oh yeah, this was actually in the game. It makes perfect sense. But I think this one discovery will make sense to everyone, but nobody probably thought about it when they were playing the game. So it's kind of, it's fun.
Well, it's good that they have you thinking all this through.
Yes, I actually look forward to like seeing some fun reactions after the book comes out. Even though I'm aware some people probably will hate it. I mean, it happens.
That is the nature of humanity.
A discussion would be really fun to see discussions about this. Yeah,
that's great. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this release. We got October 18th is the release date.
Yes.
So, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I saw the listing. It mentioned hardcover and paperback. Is it releasing in hardcover and paperback at the same time?
Yes. And that was there was a curious story to that, because normally, so like this publisher and many other smaller publishers only publish paperbacks. Because paperback and ebook. I mean, so we always have an ebook, but most readers, they don't care about having a nice hardcover. So paperbacks are cheaper, and people just want to read the book. So you kind of satisfy those who read in print or on an e-reader. So in this case, apparently, the main audience is fans of the game, and these fans want to have some collectible item, which kind of feels more substantial. So I think first the paperback was announced, and there was good reception for it. But then eventually there was enough, so everybody started asking, "What about hardcover? Will there be a hardcover?" So eventually there was so much response that the publisher decided to do a hardcover edition, and actually they had to delay the pre-order links so that both of these books come out in pre-order at the same time, so people don't pre-order paperback and then realized that they should have pre-ordered hardcover. And as I heard, hardcover books are selling a lot better than paperbacks in this case. So we ended up with two formats at the time of release.
That's so funny, because I was looking at it, like usually the hardcover is out and then maybe a year later we see a paperback or something.
Yeah.
And of course the ebooks are they're not subject to the same situation.
Yeah.
But
it's so like everybody can get their favorite collectible, I guess, in whatever format they prefer. Yeah.
That's great. Will you be doing signings and such?
Well, so this book originally, I think, will be mostly available online. So I think there's some work going on to get into the bookstores. But again, this is kind of has to do with smaller publishers. And then also, so because it's a game tie-in, so bookstores that don't deal with that, so they're kind of, so I hope there will be some local events. I will appear at some conventions, and at conventions I will be signing books. So the next one, I think, is in November in Philadelphia. It's called PhilCon. And right. But
all right.
For now, I think so. First batch will come out online, and then hopefully some personal events will follow. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's hope so. So before we wrap things up here, where should people be looking for information on you, on your books, on this book in particular?
Well, so this book has a dedicated website. It's called Lacrimosasanovel.com. So, so that's kind of the first place you can go to and see all the basic information. So they also have a newsletter you can sign up for. The publisher, Dragonwell Publishing, has their own website. I know they haven't enabled pre-ordering of this book on their website yet, but the information is also there, and you should be able to order it after it's released. And it will be available. The book itself is available from every major retailer worldwide. So any store, actually, you can. It won't be stocked in stores probably, but you can come into your favorite store and just ask them to order you a book, and they should be able to do it. So, yeah.
Okay. And one last curiosity here. Is this book being translated into languages other than English?
Well, there's conversations going on. People are asking about it. So I kind of, at the moment, I think not, because, I mean, not many people have even seen it yet. But I kind of hope that it will happen the same way it happened with the hardcover edition. If there is enough interest, enough support from the fans, this will definitely happen. And
I'm hoping to see a little outcry of support from the Japanese fans.
Yeah, we do have a lot of questions about Japanese, and a lot of Japanese fans are asking us this. So
definitely, I think that would be the first thing that it'd be translated into.
Yeah.
Have you played the game in Russian? Is there a Russian version?
Oh, I don't know. So right now,
okay. Just so right now,
my ties with Russia are almost gone right now. I haven't been to Russia since 2007, and
Okay.
I think that the Switch version only for North America, I think it only supports French and English.
Yeah, actually, okay. I would be surprised, because in Russia, the market for this, so people are not used to paying a lot of money, so like a lot of things get pirated. So I would be surprised if there's a big market in Russia, but there could be. I mean, I know we have some requests from Russian bloggers for review copies of the book, and so there might be reviews in Russian. And I think currently it has nothing to do with me being Russian, so we're just
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, this is really something else, man. I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited to check this out and play through the game, read the book, compare, contrast, go back and forth. And I really I hope this works out well and we can see more support for novelizations of video games like this.
Yeah.
So,
it actually has felt very special for me to just see the community and the support, because writing is kind of kind of lonely work. So you sit at home and write. So just to see all people who care about this project, so they care if I'm going to do a good job, and that feels really special. Because I think I hope most of those people will be happy. I've done my best, but it's just like knowing that there are people out there loving this game and willing to talk about it and just argue with me, like, did I get this character right? I think that's amazing. So I feel very thankful to the community and to all the Is fans.
I'm sure it goes both ways.
So Andrew, you should play the game.
I know, I'm gonna get over the map thing. I really am. Maybe the Steam version has an updated map or something. That would be helpful.
Yeah, no, Switch version is nice. I mean, you just you train yourself. Then
I have it on Switch. I do have it on Switch. So I'll try it out again.
Yeah, just practice.
I'll
practice until you feel natural with it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is awesome, and I hope the book sells a crap load. You know,
sells more than the game.
Yeah, I think the more the book sells, the more we'll have of other projects related to this. And so thank you very much. It's really great to talk to some.
Yes,
it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right, bye.
Thank you again.
All right, so that was our interview with Anna Kashina, and I think that was. Really, I've never had the opportunity to sort of explore the creative process behind making a video game into a book. I feel like I'd always seen those things show up in the past and just kind of wrote them off. But something about this one struck me very differently. And in talking with her, I think I was right. My intuition was right. This is different.
I think it was right because she was so passionate about it, and she didn't even need any materials. Like
Yeah.
she's just wrote a book based on playing the game several times again. It's just it's so interesting to me, man. I mean, she's like the perfect person to have written this, and hopefully they can kick off the Ys 9 one, because she seems to like that one almost as much. And I mean, there's probably been other JRPG books, but I don't know. I feel like that could be a new market. Like there's a Trials of Mana, the book.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, the novella. You know, like I don't know. I mean, maybe some of those exist in Japanese only, but I've never really looked it up. But it would be cool to see that come along, and also maybe a manga version. I don't know. You know, there's a lot that could happen here.
Yeah, so like I remember when I was a kid, I feel like there were a lot that just didn't really seem all that interesting. But like I've dabbled in some others. Most recently, I was looking at the Resident Evil Code Veronica novelization, and I was sort of comparing that to the game, and I was enjoying it. And I was like, hey, you know what? Because I couldn't beat the game, maybe I'll just read this book instead, because it's every bit as good, honestly. But yeah, so,
I mean, some of the books. I mean, look, it's common corporate practice kind of stuff. It's like cross promotion, where but some of them just seem like such a corporate product, a company product. But this, what your intuition was all about, I guess. Like it's just such a passion project. I mean,
yeah, it struck me as being so odd because Nihon Falcom is a small company. Their games are popular but not hugely popular. They're not massive sellers.
Yeah,
they were gone from development for like 8 years or something between Ys games, and it's just such an interesting thing. And then all of a sudden, here comes the novelization of Ys 8, and I'm like, there's got to be a story here. And yeah, I think
I kind of got it on my own, and then played it a bit, and the maps made me quit, and then I watched Happy Console Gamer, the YouTuber. I really love his channel, and he said the same thing. Like the maps were killing him, but he didn't quit like I did. He kept going, and he also just loved the game. He's a huge Ys fan anyway, but so yeah, there's just a lot of people saying this is one of the best story wise for sure, and the gameplay. I'm a stickler for good gameplay. I like the gameplay okay from what I played of it, other than the maps, and the controls were really good. I mean, most Japanese games have good controls, I feel like. So it was really smooth and stuff. So I didn't have much of an issue there. It's just those maps. You'll see what I'm talking about once you start. But yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. No, I mean, regardless of what happens with this book, I think it's a really remarkable story of the fact of its existence. And for those interested, we're not sure when you're going to be listening to this. The release date is October 18th. The book is available in 3 editions. The ebook is the cheapest at about $8. The paperback is $20, and there's a nice looking hardcover sort of special edition, like with a game, for $35. And from what Anna said, that's been surprisingly popular. So
nice. Keep
an eye out. And of course, you check your local libraries and stuff. You can always request a book there too.
Yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, get your library on this. Is that pretty much it, Mike?
Yeah, I think we're ready to wrap it up here. Call it a day.
So, yeah, let us know what you thought about this episode. And if you want more content like this, let us know in the comments. And if you have ideas for our Patreon that's kind of non-existent at the moment, let us know. And we'll definitely take that into consideration. And I guess that's going to do it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will check you later.
Peace.
Thank you.